When we think about effective communication, we usually think about it from the presenter's point of view. We think about our body language. Are we using the right words? Do we need visuals to make our message more compelling? What we don't always think about, though, is the audience who's receiving that message. What are the things that are important to them? What are the things that are less important to them? And while we may not all have a lot of experience presenting in public, we have a lot of experience receiving messages and receiving communication. And so with that experience, plus what the research tells us, we're able to build a picture of what effective communication means for an audience. Let's take a look.
It's certainly not true for everyone, but most of the communication I do each day is on the computer over email, both to people I know and new contacts. The whole time I'm making decisions, consciously and unconsciously, about how I'm going to respond to the wide range of emails I get all day. Stewart, Ziegler, and Whitburn say in their 2011 chapter, Constructing Identities, that responding implies both choice, not just reacting, and connection with what's already happening. Looking at my email here, I see a note from someone who I've had a major disagreement with in the past. Their email is terse and demanding. In a different context with a different person, I may interpret this as them just being busy. However, I'm reading it as dismissive and defensive because of our past. The email also shifts the blame to someone else, someone I don't know and haven't worked with on this project. Is there anything less attractive in a coworker than a quick shift of blame? Susan Scott calls it the accountability shuffle, and even if you don't have a name for it, I bet you can name 2 or 3 people off the top of your head at your company who believe they've never been responsible for a failure or mistake. Cohen and Prusik, in the chapter 1 of the book In Good Company, say that today's most economically productive work is largely voluntary, in the sense that doing it well calls for willing engagement of the whole self to the task. I'm constantly making judgments about people from their emails and making subconscious mental notes about who is engaged and who's just trying to get by. I want to work with the engaged people. All right, time for a meeting. Let's go. Our weekly staff meeting started when most of the staff was new. Every meeting wasn't just a check-in point, but also served to educate other staff members about what we did and help us build relationships. Now, though, it's only really serving as that check-in, and it's made them feel less dynamic and more prescribed. As Katzenbach and Smith say in Team Basics, a working definition and discipline, when meetings become a chore, it's a sign that most of the people in the group are uncertain why they've gathered beyond some notion of getting along together better, and that certainly resonates here. That doesn't mean I can't still observe and learn from each meeting, though. For instance, Jim won't shut up. We were just talking about the budget, and now he's interrupted and he's rambling on about something. It's a really interesting study that Deborah Tannen talks about in Rapport Talk and Report Talk that found that in recordings of university faculty meetings, men almost always spoke more often and, without exception, spoke for a longer amount of time. The men's turns range from 10.66 to 17.07 seconds, while the women's turns range from 3 to 10 seconds. In addition, she says that studies have shown that if women and men talk equally in a group, people think that women talk more. So today, I don't have anything pressing I need to present, so I'm just going to shut up and listen. Alright, that wraps this up. Time for the vendor's pitch.
So this guy has a new marketing platform. He's trying to get all the programs at the university to use. There's about a dozen of us here to hear what he has to say. And I know this is kind of shitty, but I already don't like the guy right off the bat. He looks too polished and slick. He's got this overly big smile, laughs too loudly at everyone's little jokes. It just feels gross. I guess John department's already using the software, and he's talking about how successful that's been, but the problem is John's kind of an idiot, and I don't know if I want to follow along with whatever decision he made. Robert Cialdini quotes a study in his article Harnessing the Power of Persuasion that looked at purchasers at a Tupperware party. It found that the guests' fondness for their hosts weighed twice as heavily in their purchase decision as their regard for the products they bought. That feels right here. I'm already skeptical, and they're going to have to do a lot to overcome that. Alright, he brought up his first PowerPoint slide. It's ugly. Alright, it's not actually ugly, but I don't like this guy, so I'm being hypercritical. The fonts and the colors are fine, the slides are well organized, there's nothing offensive about them, but I don't really care at this point. He seems like he spent more time on this deck and transitions than thinking about us as future clients. I know he must do dozens of these presentations a year, but I'm only signing with one platform, and he hasn't given me a reason to choose his. Alright, he's done. It's 11:30. I'm ducking out to lunch.
As I hope you've seen, a lot goes into effective communication, and if you're not thinking about your audience, you're setting yourself up to fail. You need to be considering not only the context they're receiving the message in, but also what they're looking to get out of the interaction. It's also critical that you think about rapport building, even in small conversations. If you're not building up that relationship, you're in a much weaker position when it comes time to have a really difficult conversation. I know it's a lot to think about, but even small improvements can make a big difference in the workplace and in your effectiveness as a communicator. Thanks for listening.